Welcome to podcast episode 2 of Under the Covers. My name is Lauren Blundell and I am a relationship and intimacy coach. And today I want to talk about orgasming or orgasms. Research has suggested that only about 30% of women can reach orgasms during intercourse, and that is a pretty low number. That makes me a little sad. And I suppose I became really curious about orgasms in general because, I mean, personally for myself, I'm very orgasmic woman, so I don't have a zero to hero story for you about how potentially I haven't been able to and now I can. I've always found myself to be relatively sensitive and orgasmic when enjoying sex and self pleasure. So I guess what really interested me about orgasms is what lies behind it and what are the reasons why these women can't reach orgasm, which piqued my interest in terms of women's sexuality as a whole, and I guess our journey as women throughout the ages around our sexuality, because we hear a lot about women feeling shame and guilt in the bedroom and not being able to speak up and share with their partner what they like and what they want, and feeling like their pleasure is secondary to their partners, and feeling uncomfortable with their bodies, with smells, with liquid, with having their legs open. So that kind of piqued my interest in terms of where did this all stem from? You know, this uncomfortableness and an uncomfortable feeling that we feel in the bedroom that doesn't allow us to essentially become comfortable and open ourselves completely to pleasure. So I have been a bit geeky and focused my energy in understanding socialization and civilizations, and I guess civilizations throughout the eras and throughout the years. And it's taken me right back to human sexuality and the evolution of that. Um, I'm not going to say at the dawn of time, but back into our ancient ancestors and what were we like as hunter-gatherers in communities, and how did our sexuality play out in those communities, and then what was the change, what actually happened in history that then created this control around female sexuality. So that's probably one part of the podcast. And then the second part of the podcast, I want to talk about how we are wired differently. And I always say that pleasure is your birthright, but pleasure is definitely your responsibility as well. So it's up to you to understand your body, how it works, and what you like, and then be able to communicate that with your partner in the bedroom in a really loving, vulnerable way in order to share in some beautiful experiences with them. So, going back to, I guess, human evolution, we all know that we are in a patriarchal society at the moment, and patriarchal societies favor that of men and have essentially controlled women through for a number of years. And it seems to me that the true essence of what they're trying to control in women is our sexuality. And that made me go, okay, well, why would that be? And what has caused that? So I started looking for references around the matriarchal society that I've heard of. And there are civilizations pre patriarchy that were in a more matriarchal society. And so matriarchal is the opposite to patriarchy, but it doesn't mean it favors women. It's more an egalitarianism style community. So that means that everyone has equal rights. Women have the ability to marry, divorce, own property, own land, and things like that. So that was actually written into some of the laws. in these communities. And when I'm talking about these civilizations, they are BC, so a very long time ago, and they spread across Egypt, Turkey, the Middle East, and even in London. So they're the types of civilizations that I've looked into that I find really interesting, that there was a stage in evolution of humans, the evolution of humans. In our evolution, where there was egalitarianism and there was women were seen to have equal amount of value as men did in communities, in the home, in war even. Some women were favoured to be in war. So I find that really interesting, and it seems to be that the birth of the agricultural era also birthed this patriarchal style of civilization or community. And that is, I think, primarily because with the birth of agriculture, men started to possess things. So he started to possess land, he started to possess his house, and he started to possess cattle, and then he possessed his wife. And for the main way to control a woman, it seems, throughout history, has been to put a veil on her head and pretty much cover up the female form entirely. And depending on what style of veil you have on your head, dependent on the class that you're in that particular community. And if prostitutes or slaves were in that community, they wouldn't have a veil on their head, so they would be exposed. And it was written in laws many years ago, so BC again, that at this particular stage in history, that men controlled women to the point where if that particular husband did something criminal, his wife would actually take the punishment. So if he went and raped a woman, his wife would take the punishment and probably be raped and punished in some other way. So yeah, there came a real time of controlling women, and that's, even though it's definitely tapered off now, it went through this kind of undulation of being really controlling, and then women would actually, fight back and get a bit of more control for themselves, and then something would happen, and the control would be favoured in the man's side again. And there has been women throughout history who have really pushed the boundaries, and two of them, I love their stories. One of them was in China, and she was an empress called Empress Wu, and the other one is an Egyptian queen, and I can't pronounce her name. It starts with H. I'm not even going to try. But basically, they did great things and they ruled, and but then when they passed on and they passed away, great lengths were taken to actually eradicate their time in history and completely wipe them out of the history books. So fast forward to this day and age, and fast forward into your bedroom, there has been obviously a lot of silencing of female sexuality, and even as early as the 1950s, where women had a how to be a good wife guide, and it was all very much like, you don't say anything, and you're very agreeable to your husband, and make sure he is comfortable, and make sure he is happy, and it was all very much focused on the man. So, and our sexuality, definitely, we grew up believing that it was second best, or second class to our partners. So there is no kind of coincidence why some women find it very hard to orgasm in the bedroom, because subliminally and subconsciously we've grown up believing that our orgasm does not matter, that our pleasure does not matter, that what we want does not matter, because it's all about the man and it's all about our husbands and our partners. So if you're finding it hard to communicate in the bedroom and stuff like that, I really wanted to share, I guess, history in terms of how we got to today, and how that plays out. subliminally. So whilst, yes, you may be with someone who is encouraging you and trying to encourage you, there's been many, 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 many years of us being told that we don't matter, our pleasure does not matter. That doesn't mean as well that you stay victim to that, and that doesn't mean that that's okay to then become the martyr and blame your partner for your not being able to orgasm or not being satisfied in the bedroom. You definitely need to take responsibility for your own pleasure and go about certain ways to rid yourself of the shame and rid yourself of guilt, and be able to stand true in your truth and be able to voice to your partner exactly what you want and how you like it, so then you can have really great sexual experiences and you can orgasm. So I hope that that shed a light, I guess, in a little. I'm a bit of a history buff, so I've been loving going back into ancient civilizations and really seeing these strong women and what they did, but then also seeing the change in the way that we colonized, in the way that we had communities, in the way the gender roles as well. And there was this time in history where men, definitely, it was all about men in the politics and in business, and women had their place, but it was in the house, and they weren't even allowed out into society. They had to stay in the home and tend to the home. So that's a pretty strict gender role. So that hopefully shed some light around orgasms in the ages and sexuality and human sexuality, and female sexuality, because it's quite interesting. If you go back into some studies have been done between primates and humans, and they say that our most the primates that we most relate to on a genetic level is the chimps and the bonobos. And if you know anything about bonobos, they just have sex all the time. They have sex to say hello, to goodbye, whether they're stressed or whatever, to procreate. They just have sex and they enjoy it. But also, they have done studies and linked the evolution between our anatomy and also our orgasms and what that actually really means. So our moaning and orgasms on a scientific style level is called female copulatory vocalization. I love saying that. And basically that is actually our mating call. So, which is really interesting because historians have written that women are the more demure of the sexes and do not have heightened sexual urges. However, we are the most noisiest in bed. If you live in an apartment block, guess who you hear at 2 a.m. in the morning? It's definitely not the guy, it's the female. And so, in the primates and stuff like that. So when they were moaning, that was actually to call on other males to copulate with them, to have sex with them, because it suggested that we're actually quite promiscuous in our behavior sexually, and it's only in the last how many thousands of years that we've decided to become monogamous and pair off into bondings of two, where once upon a time we actually mated with as many men in our community as possible and allowed nature to take its course, and men actually competed, had sperm competition for our ovum to fertilize us. So we were very vocal, given that that was the way that we allowed our male counterparts to know that we are ready and excited for a bit of fun. So fast forward now, and yeah, unfortunately, some women find it hard to orgasm in the bedroom, but what we probably need to be channeling is our little horny bonobo cousins from very many years ago. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the way that we're wired. So every female is wired differently. Sexually, and it's really interesting because females, our communication is diffused. We can talk about many different things. Our awareness is diffused. When we walk into a room, we literally have diffused awareness that we can pick up different things in a room, and there's no coincidence why we are actually wired on a nerve basis, or our nervous system is wired in a diffused way sexually as well, where men are more with their communication more direct, with their awareness they're more direct, and they're wired more directly with they're sexually more wired in a linear fashion. So what does that mean? That means that we have a number of nerve endings that run from the bottom of our brain, down our back and around our anus, past our perineum, and then up into our vulva, and then into the vagina. And we have a few different places where the nerves can sit or couple. And they are the vagina, the clitoris, the perineum, and the anus. So we have 4 places there, and even the cervix actually, because you can orgasm at your cervix. So there are like 5 places there where the nerves can actually diffuse to. And this is why some women will find some things in sex more pleasurable than others. That's why some women may enjoy anal sex more than other women, because they've got more nerve endings around their anus. And yeah, so we are all wired differently. That means we're all going to find different things more pleasurable in the bedroom. What that means is that it's up to you to self-pleasure, to go on a bit of a journey with your sexuality and understand what you like, really what you like, and how you like it. What tempo do you like it? How hard do you like it? And in what areas do you like it? So the different types of orgasms that we can have a cervical orgasm, we can have a clitoral orgasm, we can have a G-spot orgasm. However, the jury's still out whether we actually have a G-spot or that's just a subjective idea. And we can have an anal orgasm. So that's like 4. That's like a lot of playtime. That's a lot of research you need to do on your own body. So go and have fun with that, and really, or you can actually have a whole body orgasm. I have seen a woman in an MRI scan who wasn't even touched sexually, but from what she was thinking, she could bring herself to orgasm. Mind blowing. I'm a little jealous, but anyway. So what was I going to say? And in order for a woman to orgasm, there needs to be an element of relaxation, and you need to feel safe. And that is why some women can orgasm a lot easier when they're by themselves than when they are with their partner. So make sure with your partner that there is an element of relaxation there. And this could be anything from just taking your time, not actually jumping straight into having sex with them, or having foreplay with them, and just lie there and have a chat about sex or about what you like. And understand that also women I'm being very general here as well, women are usually very sensually wired sexually. So where men are sexually wired, meaning that we can go straight for a man's penis, and usually it doesn't take a lot for the penis to become erect. But what sensually wired means is that you need to start peripherally to the sex center, to the sex organs, and work your way down to the sex organs. So starting by just some soft stroking of the hair, or light touch, and then work your way through and down, so that you can have intercourse. And making sure that you feel safe at every moment when you are engaging in sexual intercourse with your partner, or if you're doing it casually. So safe with yourself, and you're being safe and consensual, and safe with the person that you are with as well. And I mean, I'm sure you know how to make yourself feel safe. Checking in with yourself definitely before having sex. So you are having, and you are wanting it as much as your partner is wanting it, will help you to relax and help you to feel safe, and help you to open fully to pleasure. So I hope that that helps in understanding a female sexuality throughout maybe the ages, and how we've come to this point now where women do feel repressed and suppressed in the bedroom, and potentially don't have that confidence to speak up and that confidence to express themselves. And I guess as a side note, I also just want to make you aware that some women, and I'm being really general here, can take up to 40 minutes to really become quite aroused and open fully to pleasure and orgasm. So if you are taking a long time, that is completely fine. And really, I mean, where have you got to be? Well, there's nowhere to get, and there's nowhere to be. So enjoy the pleasure that you are experiencing with your partner, and allow sex to be something that does take 40 minutes to an hour. Don't have it be something quick that you do in the morning before going to work. I mean, obviously, we're all going to love a little quickie here and there, but if you're really wanting to connect with your partner, if you're really wanting to create that loving experience where you are completely relaxed and enjoying your what you're feeling and enjoying the experience, and you really need to put some time aside for it. And the way that I like to describe, I guess, the masculine and the feminine, and this is I really love this because I find that now sex is very much based around the masculine. We have sex for a purpose, usually to procreate or to come, and we have sex, and it's very outcome focused. We need to come, and if we don't come, it's a really bad experience, or it's not good. And I really want you to drop that idea, because that is very masculine and that's great. And, that kind of sex is really hot and awesome. But then also, if you bring a feminine element into the bedroom, then sex becomes boundless and there's nowhere to get. And it's enjoying merely the journey of pleasure than really the outcome of pleasure. And that is the difference between the masculine and the feminine in the bedroom. And they're both beautiful, they both have a place, and they both need to be engaged in and encouraged in order for you to have, I think, a holistic and more full experience in the bedroom when it comes to your pleasure. Therefore, you won't be upset if sex is quick and fast, because that's really exciting sometimes, but then you really feel into and love the 40-minute, hour-long love-making sessions where it's just a whole lot of eye gazing and it's beautiful and aesthetic. So I really hope that that helps as well, in terms of allowing you to understand female sexuality. Sex is one of the greatest things that we can do with someone, with ourselves as well. And it's there to really surrender to how our bodies are designed to feel. I mean, it's amazing that we can do this thing where we can literally burst open in an orgasmic pleasure, and enjoying it creates a lot of connection in a relationship. Because here's the thing, if you're in a relationship and sex is not satisfactory or it's not satisfying, that amounts to a large percentage of the overall satisfaction in the relationship. If sex is satisfying, it will amount to a small percentage to the overall satisfaction in a relationship. So it really pays quite heavily to invest in your sexuality, to invest in your sexual pleasure, and to understand yourself, but then also, have this dance with your partner, back and forth between lovemaking and, rough sex or hard sex or quick sex, and have fun with it. It is fun. It's not there to be this silent, don't speak and try to act perfect thing. It is messy, it is awkward, you get in the weirdest positions. I've fallen off the bed many times and I have laughed my head off many times, and I think personally they're the best experiences, and I just hope that you experience that too, because I mean, gosh, being a human is so awkward sometimes, and then you're like completely naked and vulnerable in front of someone, and you're trying to be perfect. Not gonna happen. And so, yeah, I hope that helps. I hope that it shines a little bit of a light and allows you to feel into potentially some areas that you haven't thought of previously, and put some time aside for your own self-pleasure, and also a decent amount of time aside with your partner to open fully to pleasure. That's it, guys. And I'll be back soon.